I think the interesting part is that when you're starting to play out those ideas for images, please take a look that the unit title, the image, and the focus of the story should be very complementary with one another. So when you are placing an image underneath the title, it starts to give you more insight as to what should the title be to make sure that this image comes alive. The other thing that I've been finding over this past week when I was working in Denton ISD in Texas is that we started to play with the metaphor or the idea of what that image represents. So you're trying to take a nod like with a verb choice, for example. So the idea of we dive deeper because there was a diving board as that image up on top. So to continue to think about how the focus of the story continues to be informed and enlivened by some clear but also playful, precise word choices.
And something interesting about that too is that if you look at the different titles, so you'll see there's a clear alliteration and theme until you get to the last one. Mm-hmm. So I definitely hate coming up with titles. So I 100% utilize AI for titles. And so I was like, oh, I'll just do, the brand and then follow up. And it fit. And then for the last one, there were some different words I played with. It's like brand bonanza, like brand, and then I'm going, but this would mean nothing to the student. And knowing that in this generation, it's all about product drops. Like it's all about brands that they follow and they do a quick product drop for a limited amount of time. You have to jump on it and then it comes out. So I'm thinking product drop is something that they'll actually understand as opposed to something abstract that fits with the alliteration. So I changed it to make it to where it actually fit something that would make sense as opposed to trying to make it perfect across the board. No pun intended.
Well, I also so much appreciate the idea of continuing to write this for your target audience, because that is something else that Bena and Heidi and myself continue to emphasize, that we're not writing it just for ourselves to organize and lay out the content of a particular course or learning module or experience. We are writing it directly for our target audience, in which case, in your view, is 14 to 18-year-olds. But the interesting dynamic is that sometimes when we start to get super lost in that, but it has to have like the following that BB, like brand, and then finish it. Oftentimes that alliteration can continue to actually sow more confusion than help. So we can start to see the thread, and then in this case, a particular drop of that thread because it's like, pow, like the idea of doing something dynamic to demonstrate that we're moving away from the alliteration because we're actually engaging in this kind of entrepreneurial drop. Bena, what are you thinking as you're starting to see the images and the titles?
Well, I was actually listening more to what Chrissie was saying as her process, because I find it very intriguing, because I think that it really basically, she started off with like a mess of ideas. And she said, okay, how am I going to figure out what to do that's going to just make it streamlined? But then as you started to look at the visuals, and then you went to ChatGPT, I love the question you asked, like, what would it be right for this age group, so that you were getting very specific. And you started to see this. But what I also heard was you qualified everything by saying it's not perfect. But on the other hand, that lack of imperfection is what made it so charming, because you were able to move away from saying everything has to be alliterating, and you were able to say, oh, well, this really works because it speaks to the kids, and I'm sure they'll get it. That giving yourself permission to not be perfect seemed like a big deal in your creative process.
Yes. And I'm so, and truly, I'm so excited to be able to hand this to a student. And I could honestly talk probably for an hour about what this particular thing has done to help me, which is fascinating that it is just this thing is helping me so much, because to have been the person who oversaw the program multiple times and to know the overload of work that I have to do to turn all of this around, I literally was able to take what I put together in the storyboard and then extract it and put it into a document. And then I could go, okay, well, this is what we're covering. Remind myself, what do we need to actually get done to complete these things? And then I start putting the tactical items. We have to complete this. And it's just, and then it will keep us also on point. So Herman and I are both excited business people. We have a lot of information to share, and we get excited when we're talking. This will also keep us on point. Don't go into week 5 yet. We're not there. Stick with week 1. This is what we're covering. So to remove confusion from students, both from we get the understanding of what we're doing at the outset, but also, oh, this is what we're covering. Okay, this makes sense. So yes, just I think the excitement of the tool itself, it kept me from needing to be rigid with it. It was just, I understood the utility of it. I was just really excited to have something actually guide me and make it so much easier.